Welcome, beautiful soul. My name is Vlada de Sousa, and I'm the host of your Soul's Therapist podcast. The show is on a mission to give you safe and practical tools so you can become more conscious, intuitive, and expressed version of yourself. I want to assure you that this is your safe haven to reconnect with disowned parts of your spirit, heal your heart, balance your energy, and embody your authenticity. I hold as a sacred intention that with each episode, your soul's growth will take another empowered step. May we make our world a better place through our personal spiritual revolution. Thank you for joining me. I feel blessed to have you here. Welcome, friends, to a new episode of your Soul's Therapist podcast. I am very excited to share with you today about a very charged topic that I haven't seen many people discussing in spirituality and self-development, but I think there is opportunity for us to really reconsider how we perceive what is ego. So in this episode, I will try my best and do my best to clarify maybe one of the biggest mistakes we are making when we are thinking about ego. I want to show you a completely different perspective and demystify this concept from the religious perspective, therapeutic perspective, and spiritual perspective, once and for all. And I think this can be quite insightful and quite enlightening, as it was for me. And it was so relieving for me to really deeply and profoundly understand what is ego, how is it formed, where is it coming from, and the most important, what to do about it, how to relate with this ego. As in many traditions, they would say you need to have an ego death, the ego has to die, ego is not welcome, you have to exile your ego in order to be lovable and liked, etc. But maybe we have really been thinking about this in a very inaccurate way all this time. And I would love to open a little bit wider this window of understanding the concept of ego. So stay with me until the end of this episode, because I'm quite sure there will be things that you've never thought about, that you've never heard about, and that can actually really help you to change how you feel about your own ego, how you feel about other people's ego, and maybe bring a little bit more awakening into this whole topic. Before I dive with you into the topic of the ego, I would love you to explore a U-turn 3 months mentorship that I am going to offer to you starting from the September 23rd for the next 3 months until December. It is a really beautiful offering that I'm creating with a lot of love and a lot of passion that will feel like you are in one-to-one mentorship with me, because you will have all the privacy, you will have all the confidentiality, no one will see you, you will not need to be on the camera, no one will need to know what you're experiencing, because I know how profound and deep these journeys can be for us and how uncomfortable some of us might be with showing our inner world in a group setting. So I want to protect you from that. And I have a beautiful way of offering group structure processes that will be making you feel extremely safe. So until Sunday, you are still able to sign up for the interest list. Interest list people will receive from me a direct email with a 20% discount. And this discount will be only available until Sunday. So join the interest list, receive a mail from me with special conditions of 20% discount and 30-minute one-to-one clarity session with me. And don't wait for the public launch of this experience that will have no discounts and no one-to-one experiences with me. Please find the link in the bio, and I'm open for questions if you have. So I want to open this topic of the concept of ego and how it has been spoken of, perceived, and related to from maybe major spiritual teachers of our time. So what Eckhart Tolle is saying about ego, I quote him, "When the ego takes over, all aspects of your life, including your relationships with other human beings and with nature, it becomes a monstrous parasite. Some of the ego strategies are extremely clever, yet they never truly solve any of its problems simply because the ego itself is the problem." That's Eckhart Tolle on his perception of ego. Dalai Lama, His Holiness, in our practice of the Dharma, we seek to transcend the situation in which we find ourselves, victims of our own mental afflictions, such as attachment, hatred, pride, greed, and so forth. These are mental states that cause us to behave in ways that bring about all of our unhappiness and suffering. It is helpful to think of them as our inner demons. They are like demons. They can haunt us, causing nothing but misery. Whoa, these are strong words. Demons, parasites, monstrous beings. Well, when you hear this reflections and insights on ego from teachers of this level, you absolutely will not doubt that ego is actually a very, very bad thing, right? And beyond even spiritual teachers, it has been a way to shame other people. So if you want other people to stop doing something that is about them, you can simply tell them that they are so egoistic, egocentric, and that will be an offense. That will be something that a person will feel like an attack or shaming. So we have been sitting with the notion of ego for a very, very long time as something deeply bad, something to get rid of, something to kill, something to transcend, something to exile in order for us to be acceptable, to be good human beings. We need to cancel the ego. We need to shut it down. We need to fight it. And in my personal journey, I have been noticing sometimes this voice of quote unquote ego. I will explain you why this is not so simple. But sometimes I would hear a voice of my ego or a feeling coming from the ego. For example, some kind of jealousy or some kind of anger or pride or hatred. I would feel it inside of me. And being already at that time a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher, someone who is deeply involved into spirituality, I would feel so ashamed of myself for having these feelings and emotions, right? On another hand, they're there. You cannot help them. Of course, you can try to exile them and pretend they are not there. But sometimes these feelings come and there is shame internally. And of course, all other parts of us, of myself, start working very, very hard to compensate for this sinfulness, for this badness within. And I see this very often in the world of yoga, in the world of spirituality, in the world of religion. Even those in the positions of power, like really top yoga teachers, really top spiritual teachers, or religious figures, they have this perception, they create this perception of themselves as really someone who transcended the ego. They are priests, they are holy people, they are enlightened people, they are really gurus and masters and all these things. And we kind of look up to them, thinking these people are pure. There is no badness in them. They are absolutely pure, and we should look up to them. We are bad, we are sinful, we have all these issues, and we just need to look up to those enlightened, holy, top religious popes and priests. We need to look up to them so that we can also purify ourselves from this ego, get closer to this. Now, what's interesting, it's not a rare information that it is quite common to sometimes discover that top yoga teachers were discovered and proved to be sexually abusive to their students. It's not news to discover that priests sexually abuse even children. So if you just really go and investigate people that have been claiming to know the truth, to be really masters of being egoless, being good, being an example, leaders of goodness, they have committed really ugly things. Now, why is that so? Why is that so? Why, as someone who is on a top position in a religious world, would sexually molest a little child? Why does this happen? Why? It's a recent story that I heard. A monk who spent more than 30 years with his teacher meditating, Buddhist monk, at the end assassinated his teacher. Now, of course, we can think, okay, he probably had a mental problem, but mental problem is precisely when we are suppressing, let's say, the dark side of us, pretending to be only on the light side of us. And because you can really not properly suppress something inside, it will ultimately somehow come out and erupt in a very ugly way. So I want you to just start seeing how it's actually really not really the case that we can completely get rid of ego, completely throw it away, and only put this hat of a priest or priestess or guru, and that's great, we're perfect, and we don't have any ego left. So let's go a little bit deeper into this, right? So people that teach us how to get rid of our ego at the end very commonly and often actually have big dark side. Why does it happen? Well, because when you're told, entering a religion, entering a spiritual tradition, that you must leave your ego at the door. You must get rid of it. Absolutely. All these desires, all the greed, all the pride, you have to get rid of it. But my friends, how? How do we get rid of it? Do we put a magic hat on, push the button and something changes and this ego dies? No. How do you kill the ego? Seriously, what do? You exile it. You push some kind of low vibrations, bad thoughts, bad feelings, bad impulses somewhere far deep into the your inner world. Then you put a lid on it and you become a perfect teacher or a perfect priest. But nothing will stay there forever. Sometimes that whole dark thing breaks out and leaks into our lives in a way that it's pretty scary. Now, I want to share that from my perspective, I find sometimes people that meet me, of course, there is my perception of who I am, like a spiritual teacher, I'm a healer. And of course, most of people think that I should be extremely calm, peaceful, forgiving, not wanting anything, not having any desires, not having any needs, not having bad moods, not having bad feelings. So this is like an expectation. And it's interesting that my parts have always felt that if I will pretend or I will act in the way that people expect me to, which means being really, really, really good and really, really nice, then I will actually slowly become fake and I will slowly become completely inauthentic. And then I will have this split in my personality. There will be Vlada de Sousa that has just this beautiful, nice, loving, kind, sweet angel. And then there will be this real dark side of me where there is my jealousy and my anger and my frustrations and things like this. There will be that thing, right? That I will be trying to hide as much as possible. And I realized it really, really early. And I gave myself permission to not hide whatever is happening. So I feel it's more authentic and honest to really have people see me in a bad mood, have people see my anger, have people see my frustration. I better show it and disappoint someone and make them think that this is not a really spiritual teacher, not a really a healer. She can be so intense and she can be so this and so that. I better deal with this, disappointing people's expectation of my perfection, rather than create this split in my system and be fake, create this fake, perfect, ideal, holy healer persona that just not real and not true. So yes, I have a tendency to show my feelings, show my emotions. Sometimes you can really clearly see on my face that I don't like something. And yes, I get a tendency to disappoint people in seeing me as a holy angel, and I'm with time decided to be okay with that. It's more important for me to stay just honest with myself. Having said that, let's dive into a bit more of what is that dark side and what is that ego side that we need to understand. But well, now we know that successfully no one can get rid of ego. And in one way or another, the ego will be coming forward. And sometimes it's coming out of nowhere and it shocks us. It shocks everyone else. And this becomes a problem. So let's have a bit more sophisticated view on the concept of ego. First and foremost, ego is not singular. Ego has different faces and different aspects, right? So if you would try and find your ego, you cannot just pinpoint one thing, like one side of you. You will have a part of you that has pride and takes pleasure in receiving people's praise, receiving people's appreciation, right? It's just like this pride. There can be that side of us. There can be some kind of a part of us that has desire to have more, right? And this has always been a very bad thing. But when you want to look at the ego, okay, there is this part of me that has these needs and has these desires. So when you understand that it's not just one whole ego problem, we have different sides of us. We have a part of us that is doing this, pride. We have a part of us that is doing this, jealousy. We have part of us that is doing this, proving something to someone, right? So here we kind of get on a level of looking at it in a more refined way. We look at it as different aspects and different parts of us. So if you really want to work on quote unquote ego, then it will not be just one session or one experience of hello ego and let's do something about this. It will be looking at different parts of you that in internal family systems are beautifully described as protectors. So let's unpack this. And by the way, this is something that you will be learning in U-Turn group mentorship, all the system of parts in the inner world. And this is just one example, but if you understand the whole system of parts, relating with yourself and others becomes a very different experience. So internal family systems show us that we have these protectors. And usually these protectors, they are doing quote unquote bad behavior. They can scream at people, they can be demanding, they can even do gaslighting, they can be manipulative, they can want everything and more just for themselves. They can have this greed, they can be completely even lacking total empathy and just thinking about themselves. Now, when I'm talking to you about these protectors, you might already start identifying, even big figures in our world, like presidents of some countries, right? That they completely neglect the population they're serving. They don't care about the nature. They don't care about well-being. They just want money, power, and total control. So then we would look at these people as those people who have parts that are needing to control, needing power, and want to be on the top of the world, rich and successful. So internal family systems would not pathologize this type of behavior. No one is saying it's a good behavior, but I would say it is parts of them that are doing this job for a reason. So if we look at, for example, power, why there would be a part of us that wants to be in power or in control? Well, how does it help? How does it help to want to have absolute power and control? That helps us to feel less afraid. When we are in our power and in control, we are not afraid. But then the question is there someone there that is really, really scared? That is scared to be attacked, that is scared to be abused, that is scared to be left alone. So then as we understand what actually is driving this need for power and control, we can see these parts of them that have this power and control mode in a different way. They are having good intention and they are trying to help this person. And the more people need power and control, the more insecurity, vulnerability, and fear they carry inside of their system. So what do you need to understand about ego that no one actually told you about before? Number one, there is not one ego. You have many, many, many different egos. Even, you can say there is this persona, this yoga teacher, for example, who just loves, to give people this great experience, and then to hear, oh, this was amazing, you're amazing. I was there myself, and I really needed it. I really felt so seen. I felt so appreciated. It felt so good to receive people's validation, to receive people's kind of confirmation of your goodness and how amazing you are. It felt great, right? So with time, there can be this part that really feeds and needs this validation, this confirmation of your amazingness, will start growing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we could call it a protector that is trying to please everyone, to give something special or go beyond what's possible, to receive the confirmation of their goodness, to receive the love, to be seen, to be valued, to be appreciated. Just really delivers that feeling. So yes, we all, in all different professions, doctors, some surgeons have what they call like a God feeling of themselves, right? God syndrome. Like they feel they really bring people from another life. They give people life. So in every profession, there can be an ego sitting, a part of us, protector, that is doing their job and really gets this boost of validation and love for what they're doing. Oh, you're so smart, you're so intelligent, you are the best surgeon, you are the best this, the best that. So is this bad? Is this wrong? Do we need to feel good when we get praise? Do we need to feel bad when we feel like we're actually working hard to get the praise? Well, it's not good and not bad. The truth is that these parts of us that are doing these jobs, they are doing these jobs for someone there. And usually it's a very young part of us that really needs love, that really maybe just doesn't feel whole and complete. And this part of us takes this role of working very hard, delivering, achieving, performing, striving so that it can deliver this boost of love and validation for that part. So when you understand how the ego forms, basically ego, it's an extension of ourselves that is forced out of their natural state and natural role and given a job. So parts of us sometimes are forced to take jobs because the system needs to function, system needs to harmonize itself. So the parts take these jobs and work there for someone, right? Not always these parts actually like their jobs and want to do them, but they believe it's necessary. There is no one else to do these jobs for them, so they have to take it and they have to do it. And there is a really beautiful way of looking at it. If you read a book by Richard Schwartz, the founder of Internal Family Systems, that is called No Bad Parts. So Richard Schwartz went to prisons and spent a long time working with people convicted for horrible things, killing, stealing, rape, all of those things. And what he discovered, that at the end of the day, talking to their ego, talking to their egos, talking to the parts of them that committed horrible, awful things, these parts did nothing but revealed their pain, their suffering, their vulnerability that they have been trying to compensate for, they have been trying to protect. So even the worst things that a human can do at the deep, deep root of it has, surprisingly, and it was shocking for me to discover that, they have a very good intention. So it is not as simple as this people say it is. Like Dalai Lama and Eckhart Tolle is just a parasite, it's a monster, it's this horrible, horrible thing. At the bottom of it, it's a part that has a very good intention and wants to help. Yes, the truth is that they can be harmful. They can create a lot of suffering and pain and destruction in the outer world. And this is how strong they feel they need to do their job to help someone there inside. It's usually very, very traumatized children, exile parts inside of them that need these powerful protectors to do these horrible things. But it is a transformational understanding that at the root of this bad ego, monstrous, parasitic parts is something good, is something that actually has intention to help. In my practice, when I work with my clients and with my students, and we do IFS therapy, when I ask their protectors, what would you do instead if you would not need to do this job? For example, if you would not need to scream at other people, yell at other people, be rageful, what would you like to do instead? And they say that if I wouldn't need to do this, and the important thing, they feel that they need to do this. It's important. It's a job. But if I wouldn't need to do this, what I would do instead, and then the list is really fun. I would go on vacation. I would be a part that has sense of humor. I would be a creative part. I would be loving part. I will be empowering part. I would be joyful part. And then you start really seeing that these parts suffering in these jobs, they are not happy to do this, like to control, to try to even manipulate, and or just be a very, very, very good person. These parts suffer, in my opinion, a lot. The ones that need to be nice and have everyone like them and be such a good person. It feels really, really, fills me with a lot of compassion because they feel that's what they need to do. But then when you help them through the process to let go this role, when they let go this role, they just go back to their original state. Some parts just retire and wants to go on holidays, but a lot of them just become this compassionate or joyful or radiant or energized parts, right? They kind of come back to self. I know that this understanding can be a little bit complex or quite radical. And again, for those of you who really want to transform the whole understanding of how our inner system works, how the mind works, and that the mind is not one mind, there are many minds and many parts, and how they're structured and formed, and how to relate with them, and how to understand and bring all of that into harmony, I cannot recommend you enough to be part of the 3 months group mentorship U-Turn. So I hope that now you notice we don't have one ego, we have many egos. They are not deeply rotten at the core of them. They are actually beautiful, joyful, radiant parts that took on this horrific sometimes jobs or hard jobs or challenging jobs to help someone there inside. Now, I want us to start evolving from this perception of duality. There is a good side, there is a bad side. We need to get rid of the bad side, make sure that no one will see it, and we need to fuel and show and force forward our good side. So everyone sees our good side, no one sees our bad side. This has been like this happening for too long, and this creates polarity inside of us, creates exiles inside of us. It creates this dark, closed rooms that no one should ever go there. I know people, especially men, sometimes would tell me that out of nowhere their rage just erupts, and then they become kind of a monster. They become someone else, and they cannot control what they say. They can throw things. They can be just really, really, really enraged. And then, of course, there is a lot of shame about it. And they will be shamed by others for this. They will shame themselves for this. And then they try to exile and try to suppress this side of them even more. But it doesn't work for a long time. And that rage will come back, erupt on everyone, sometimes ruin families, sometimes ruin relationship. And this is the problem, that inside we have this, the light and the dark, the good and the bad. And then we relate with everyone else exactly in the same way. They would see, for example, myself and say, oh, she's such a holy angel. And then at some point they would notice me behaving in a way that is not holy angel like, and they'll say, wow, this is monstrous. This is really, really bad. And so this polarity is just either we good or bad, or either other people good or bad, and there is no wholeness. There is no integration in this understanding. I hope this makes sense to you. And the next step in the understanding of ego and working with this ego is first looking inside and seeing where is your parts trying to provide, trying to do something that feel like they are delivering some kind of feeling to you. They are delivering feeling of goodness. They're delivering feeling like you're the best. They're delivering feeling like you're empowered and so powerful and so smart. Just start noticing, because these parts, they are feeding someone there, someone very hungry for strength and confidence and clarity and safety, but they are not getting really the true healing inside. Protectors have a very limited possibility to do this. So they like gonna go out there, gonna get something, then I bring it inside, this validation or confirmation of your powerfulness or goodness. But then there is need for more. So, and the more you do it, the more you want it, and then this is how actually ego explodes and grows, right? So the more other people feeding your ego, the more your parts are working hard to feed the ego, the more ego grows and the more it wants things. So the only way to work with it is to go underneath this protector or underneath this ego and help the part that has needs to have their needs met and to receive the healing that they need. Only in this way, first by understanding the very good intention of our protectors and giving healing to our parts that need help, we harmonize our system. We don't kill the ego. We don't strain them. We don't exile them. We don't put them in a dark, locked up rooms. We are curious about them. We are welcoming them. We are asking them questions. We are interviewing them to deeply understand. And every time when we deeply understand, we feel nothing but absolute compassion for the whole system, for someone who is suffering, for someone who is helping. And then the system is trying to organize itself in the best possible way. And then the transformation happens when they don't need to figure it out alone. We are there to help them to resolve all this challenge inside. I want to share with you also one very interesting thing. Sometimes we think that the strongest instinct is instinct of safety and survival. That at the end of the day, if your life is threatened, you will make a decision that will save your life. Basically, the system will work in a way that it will want to survive. But what's interesting, I've heard it from one of my IFS teachers, but it's very interesting. This person told a story about a Marine who went on a special operation. And there was a challenging moment when he had to risk his life to save other comrades in the Marine. And what was very interesting, that a part of him that wanted to show itself as a really, really good soldier and a team member and receive an award actually took the lead, put this person at absolute risk of his life, and went into this very risky, very dangerous operation to protect and to save other people. So it's interesting that actually our biggest drive is not survival. Our biggest drive is feeling good about ourselves. This is the most powerful drive. The worst thing for our system is to feel bad. It's to feel like a bad person, like faulty, sinful, wrong, bad person. And the best thing is to feel like clean, clear, holy, saint, good, great person. So that explains why for the egos, it is, or parts, protectors, it is so high stakes. It is so high stakes to deliver this feeling of I'm a good person to ourselves. And they can do so many different things that will bypass many things, like survival instincts. I hope this has been changing a little bit your perspective on the ego. I'm tired of hearing this old school explanations that ego is wrong, ego is bad, and then this shaming. And then these people that actually want to heal and evolve and connect to something greater, they feel much more worse about themselves rather than more connected to spirituality. So yes, we do have egos, and they are not parasites, though they might, in a very extreme roles, they might look like ones to the outside or even to the inside, but in fact, they are just doing their job. And how to work with it is to communicate and offer these protectors help and assistance with their job so that they don't need to be so extreme and they don't need to be so controlling or needing power or diminishing other people or being rageful or people-pleasing. None of that. And I understood this very, very early when I really loved to go to the Christian church, but I could never understand one thing. Every time in a Christian church, Orthodox Christian, you need to cover, for women, you need to cover your head. So sometimes you forget something to put on your head and you enter the church, and every time I would be literally receiving an eruption of rage and anger from these cute ladies, very holy, very spiritual, very, very good Christian ladies that are working in this church. They would just explode with rage and anger and definitely shame me for being a very bad person and not wearing the thing on my head. And I could never connect the dots. It was so confusing, so cognitive dissonance. I'm entering the temple of God. This should be a place where everyone are received equally, everyone are loved, everyone are welcomed. And from people who work there, who are very, very religious, I get this feeling of anger and resentment and hatred and pure attack. I could never connect the dots. And I don't blame these people. This is what they have been doing to their system. This is a lot of religions and a lot of cults and a lot of even spiritual traditions have been demonizing parts of them, like this, and they have exiled so much of their protectors, and they're coming out in a not a very beautiful way. So my friends, I'm inviting you for a holistic approach to our system, and I'm inviting you to learn more and investigate more about your nature, your true nature, how your inner world works, who you actually within yourself, and don't buy into shaming. Don't buy into this religious, spiritual shaming. Don't play this game. Go inside, meet parts of you that are doing certain behaviors or certain actions, and have an honest conversation. And all of that I will be teaching you how to do in the U-Turn mentorship that you're so welcome to join. The interest list you can find here in the link in the description of this episode, and I will reach out to you directly. On Monday, it will be September 1st, I think, the interest list will not be available anymore. And until 19th of September, the application will be open for this mentorship. So hope to see you there and give you much more clarity on what is what, how to deal with yourself, how to deal with aspects of yourself that you're ashamed of, afraid of, that you're hiding from yourself and everyone else, how to really develop sophisticated view on your inner world, how to go inside, how to help, how to heal, how to structurize yourself in a very clear way, so that there is no polarization, there's no good or bad, right or wrong, light or dark, that you will be coming into this one whole and complete person that you are, that is multi-layered and that is complex. Thank you for being here again. I really do very much appreciate my listeners. Thank you. And until soon, much love. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Your Soul's Therapist podcast. I want you to know that I deeply appreciate your willingness to find healing for your soul and add to our collective sanity. If you feel like this podcast offered you something valuable, I invite you to circulate a goodwill back by rating the show and clicking the button follow. If you will share this episode with your friends and family, I will be beyond grateful. My investment of time and energy to create this authentic content is significant, and your input and support can make a huge, huge difference. And before you go, I want to remind you that each of our journeys are unique and truly complex. And my commitment is to look at your soul with clarity, to help you see what you might be blind to see, and gently guide you out of the places where you have been stuck. Whether you're drawn to my intuitive healing sessions or profound depth of counseling, I'm here, ready to accompany you on your path. Go to my website, vladadesousa.com, and choose the best way to work with me one-on-one. May you be blessed.